Mina Kimes, David Dennis Jr., Kevin Blackistone, Frank Isola. Classic NBA Cup drama, the kind you dreamed of when you were kids. What Boston knocking off Cleveland means for both and the Eastern Conference. This was a prize fight from back when prize fights were still prize fights. And the brackets! Spotlight Ohio State here. Look at this. BYU, then Boise, while Oregon gets the bye, but then gets Alabama or Notre Dame. Let's go around the horn. Boston had that torrid start last night, defending that green home court and the championship banner. Cleveland showing you, though, everything they've already showed you in this 15-0 start to fight back from down 21 to get it to down 2, but it wasn't enough last night. Celtics 120, Cavs 117. The unbeaten start for the Cavs is over. The gimme that for 7 in May requests incoming. Frank Isola around the horn to you. What did we learn last night about the Celtics? What did we learn last night about this Cavs team?
Yeah, speaking of brackets, that court looks like the NCAA tournament bracket. But for the Celtics, they were the best team in the NBA last year, and the Cleveland Cavaliers couldn't beat them then. Give Cleveland credit. They came back from 21 down, cut it to 2 points. But Boston showed you last year during the playoffs. When it matters, they win. When they played Cleveland, beat them last year. Opening night against the Knicks, a team that thought we should have been in the conference finals. What does Boston do? They wiped that floor with them. And last night, Cleveland is a terrific team. You could see them going far in the playoffs, but there's still a lot of ground to make up between them and the Boston
So your
Celtics.
takeaway still, though, the champs are the champs. Kevin Blackistone around the horn to you.
Well, you said they wiped the floor with them. They were down by 21, the Cavs, and they fought back to within 2 to lose that game by a bucket.
Yep.
I mean, I was more impressed by what the Cavs did because we know what the Celtics are made of. But, you know, Darius Garland was 3 for 21, and the rest of the team didn't help him much more from the three-point line. And still, they were in that game late. If it told me something about the Celtics is that if the Celtics want to turn on their defense, everybody else is in a lot of trouble because that was a defense that was number 2 in the league last year. This year, they're not quite as high. But, man, when you've got Drew and out there to guard at the any guard who's out there and White to join in, they can just shut people down. But I like what Cleveland did, and I'll take their chances going forward.
Nobody pops a W like Kevin Blackistone. White. Love the way you said that. David Dennis Jr., takeaway from last night, Celtics or Cavs?
Yeah, I think both of these teams actually walk away from the biggest game in in-season tournament history thinking that they have a dogfight ahead of them, and they got, this is going to be a close matchup. If you're Boston, you feel good. Jason Tatum was the best player on the court, and you still don't have Porzingis. He's coming back. If you're Cleveland, though, you feel good. You withstood a Boston three-point barrage that puts teams away, and you fought back. You were missing Okoro. You were missing LeVert. You're missing a couple of other players out there, and you fought back, and you had a really bad game from Darius Garland, which you're not going to get, and you still were within 2 points on 5 different occasions in that game in Boston. So you walk away, both teams, you're saying if we see these guys in the playoffs, this might go 7.
So you like the way Cleveland walks away there. Let's whip it around to Mina Kimes now. Takeaway. Cavs or Celtics?
Both. This felt like a conference championship preview. And while there's no such things as a moral victory in the NBA, I did come out of this feeling pretty damn good about Cleveland closing the gap, being the 1B to Boston's 1A. Because think about it, what it took for Boston to win. They had to have their best three-point shooting performance in a half in 25 years.
Wow.
25 years, and it was still close in large part because of what Cleveland did in the paint, outscoring them 60-36, which, by the way, does feel sustainable. That is how they win. It will be how they win against Boston in the future. And then the comeback. KB talked about this. That, to me, was just as impressive from a psychological experience. This is a psychological perspective. This is a young team showing that sort of mettle, the ability to be down 21 points in the third quarter and come back. That tells me they are coming, and I am perhaps more confident than I am confident in Cleveland than I was before the loss.
Frank, I sold it back in.
Here's the thing about you young kids, and by kids, I'm not talking about Kevin. If you go back to last March, they were down 22, Cleveland was to Boston, and they won the game. And that was without Donovan Mitchell. So we've seen them come back. We know that they can do that. The question is, can they beat them when it really matters? Last night's game meant a lot to Cleveland. Doesn't mean a lot to Boston. They're the champions. Do you really trust him in the playoffs against the Celtics in a 7-game series? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I trust him yet against the New York Knicks in a playoff series.
Whoa. Why is that coming up in the middle? David Dennis Jr.
Yeah, I don't know how the Knicks ended up in this conversation at all. If I'm Boston also, you have to think about what your defense is going to be doing right here. They, kept Mitchell to a low shooting percentage, but that third quarter, they allowed 40 points in that third quarter that's allowed Cleveland to come back. And Cleveland only made 10 threes. They lead the league in three-point percentage this season. You expect them to get hotter than that. The Boston is really going to have to rely on Porzingis and his defense when he comes back.
A lot of Cleveland's points yesterday came in the paint or close to the basket, as Mina alluded to, and that's been something. Boston defensively was that type of team to stop it a few years ago, but the team they evolved into while winning a championship, well, they had some work to do in the paint. We'll move on. Playoff ranking edition 3. One major change in the bracket. Boise up to the conference championship byline and the 4 seed, with BYU's first loss last week dropping them to 12. The corner of the bracket, Ohio State doesn't get the bye, but versus BYU, and then if they win, Boise, while Oregon would earn the number 1 seed, but then get Alabama or Notre Dame. That is delicious. David Dennis Jr. around the horn to you. Your biggest takeaway from last night's review?
The biggest takeaway here is that 5-seed conundrum. Everybody's been talking about it leading up to the season, that 5 seed was an advantageous spot. And right now, there's nothing more advantageous than being Ohio State right now. You're the second best team in the country. And in order to get to the semis, you have to beat the 12th best team and the 14th best team in the country. That seems like a cakewalk for Ohio State, and that's not really rewarding the teams that are ahead of them in that bracket. The 5th seed is where you want to be right now in the tournament, no matter what happens next week.
Mina Kimes, takeaway for this reveal.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by BYU dropping as far as they did and what it means for the Big 12. I mean, this is rolling towards a photo finish, right, between them and likely Colorado, unless Arizona State has something to say about it. So all of these games now leading up to the conference championship really feel like, you got to win to get in. And I'm really interested in that because I think BYU deserves to be ranked higher. I think they're a better football team.
Frank Isola?
You got to give Miami a lot of credit. They lose to Georgia Tech, and they're going to get a bye in the first round. I get it, being the ACC champion, the way that it could play out. But how about Georgia? If you look at Georgia with 2 losses and you look at all the teams above them, you believe that Georgia is better than most of them. And let's face it, the college football playoff is a TV show. They proved that last year when Florida State was undefeated, and they didn't make the college football playoff. So Georgia at 2 losses right now, I still would take them over a lot of these teams, including right now the team they would be lined up to face, which would be Penn State.
Kevin Blackistone.
I'm sorry, I'm just confused because I thought Ward Manuel reiterated what the strongest measurement was for this listing, for these rankings, and that was strength of schedule. And when I look at strength of schedule as posted by ESPN, BYU is well ahead of Boise. But yet, Boise is ahead of BYU because they have a better loss. I didn't know losses were good. I thought losses were bad and not good. So I'm completely confused, and they're going to have to straighten this out, or they're going to have to start talking about expanding the tournament before.
Well, they will be doing that no matter what. You can almost see that coming down the pike. But again, let's talk a little bit more about Georgia. Frank brought it up, okay? 5 games they've played this year versus top 20 teams currently, whereas other teams don't have that strength of schedule. Do you see this lining up for David Dennis for the Georgia Bulldogs?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia has to be in there, and I do think they should be rated higher. Basically, they're, I would say, probably the top 5 team in the country right now, and I think this is lining up for them. As long as they're in the tournament, they have a shot. They're as good as anybody else.
All right, there you go. So ahead of an undefeated at the moment Indiana team, or ahead of, you would still value that. Mina Kimes, I see you shaking your head no.
I would, and I don't like that. I think that flies in the face of what this expanded playoff is about. We've talked about this last week. I didn't like the idea of a 3-loss team, a 3-loss SEC team getting in. And I'll say this about Georgia. Yes, the schedule was very difficult. Yes, they're still really good, but I do not trust Carson Beck, man. The inconsistency at the quarterback position gives me great pause going in if they potentially
just throwing out some of the schedules. Miami 2 wins versus teams with winning records, okay? Texas 2 wins versus teams with winning records. And then I just told you Georgia's schedule has had 5 top 20s, Kevin Blackistone, please.
I agree with Mina. I mean, I don't like that either because that's not what you thought you were going to get with this new playoff system. And, you could just reward the SEC, right? I mean, that's how tough their schedule is week in and week out. We know how deep the table is for them, how deep the chest is for them. So this seems like the SEC is going to win out once again. And I think that's what's going to happen if, in fact, they stick to strength of schedule.
Frank, I saw the last word on this.
Well, Kevin, you're going to find out if a loss is a good thing. We'll see what happens with Indiana. If they can't beat Ohio State,
well, that's it.
That's one thing. Can they make it competitive? They'll stay in that range and will be one of the top 12 teams.
What we've seen with the expansion of conferences, though, is that schedule in your conference, how much it matters, because you have multiple teams who have had easier schedules this year than they would have ever had while still playing in conference. Indiana is an example of that. Taking a break, buy or sells next.
Isn't that the yell?
We're going to play some Connect 3 right now. Dalton Connect, 9 threes last night for the rookie. And he gave us a Jordan shrug midway through. Look at this. 37 points. Lakers needed just about every one of his threes in that 6-point win over Utah. NBA Cup. Last 4 games, Connect averaging a tick under 25. And he's 46% from 3 on the year. Mina, can he do the Jordan shrug? And are you buying or selling that this is real? Dalton Connect, a real player in the league.
He can, and I'm loving it. And you know who else is loving it? J.J. Redick. By the way, J.J. Redick in his 940-game career only hit 9 threes once, which shocked me. So he has to be loving it, obviously, watching him do his thing, but also because of what it means for this Lakers team, which we all know needed 3-point shooting. With Anthony Davis playing the way he is, that complementary piece that Connect has provided over the last few games, that is very significant.
David Dennis Jr.
Mina, I know you're in LA. I know there's a lot of gentrification there. You got to put your foot down. Do not let this man gentrify the Jordan shrug. Please, he cannot do this. That is reserved for Michael Jordan in the finals, not beating Utah in November. You cannot do the Jordan shrug.
You say it like that. Okay.
Yeah, take away. All right, so we take away all that. This Connect thing is a real thing for the Lakers. I think he's earned a starting spot, which puts Rui on the bench, and I think that adds to some of their depth that he has. This guy had 21 points in 5 minutes. Only 14 players have done that since the year 2000. This guy is on a hot streak that can mean a whole lot.
Whoa, but you just told us only 14 since 2000 did something he did. So I know it's not the NBA Finals, but it is something. Kevin Black has done around the horn to you.
Yeah, I bet you I was at that game. In fact, I'm sure I was, and maybe Frank was too. And when Jordan went like that, he was just on fire. And that is the international sign for I'm on fire. 22 points in a row.
Yeah. There you go. So do you believe he is a starter for these Lakers, Kevin Blackstone?
I think he is, but I wouldn't do that right now. I mean, I think their biggest problem is the point guard situation, which they keep throwing up in the air. I like those points coming off the bench. You got to have that kind of firepower coming
off. And Frank Isola, take it all in for us.
Dalton Connect, otherwise known as the other Lakers rookie, and it was a great pickup by them. Number one, he's 23 years old, so it's not like they brought in a 19-year-old that they had to develop. They're a win-now team, and you put him on the floor with Anthony Davis, LeBron James, he's going to get a lot of open shots. Not going to always knock down 9 of them, but now he's giving opposing defenses something to think.
All right, and can he Jordan shrug it? Frank, make a ruling on this. You were there.
Probably not. I'm a Jordan guy all the way. Otherwise, I'd say, but Jordan's my guy. Can't do
Buy or sell too. Deion Sanders saying he's got a kickstand down at Colorado. Take a listen.
I'm happy where I am, man. I'm good. I got a kickstand down. You know what a kickstand is? A lot of people in there not of age don't know what a kickstand is. That means I'm resting. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm enthusiastic about where I am. I love it here. I truly do.
David, buy or sell the kickstand mean Coach Prime stand in Colorado?
I'm selling that Deion Sanders actually knows like what kickstands are used for. Kickstands are for bikes and motorcycles, things that are constantly moving. With Deion Sanders, it's constantly moving. He said he wasn't going to go somewhere when he was at Jackson State. I think he's looking, you know, if Dallas and one of those teams come calling, he's moving on from Colorado. He gave us this spiel once before. This guy will go to the next big thing.
So you're
once that
not
opportunity
buying it, Kevin Blackstone, buy or sell?
I mean, he makes a little less than the average salary of a coach in the NFL, so you know he's about money too, and his son is about to leave, so I'm not buying that. But this whole thing about kickstand, this is a horrible idea, a horrible metaphor. I mean, what's the thing about the kickstand? You go in, you put it on your bike, on your kid's bike, you go into the garage, and then you trip over.
Yes.
The bike falls down, it hits into something else, that falls off the wall. You just got
And the kickstand in itself is leading. You're already leading in a direction. Frank Isola, around the horn to you.
This is the Cowboy job we could be talking about. If you want the job, that's the answer you give. That no, I'm good here. If he wanted an NFL job and his name really wasn't out there and that question came up, he would have said, I've always dreamed about one day coaching in the NFL. That would be his way of putting it out. He wants that job. That was a smart answer.
So you're not buying it, but you think it's a smart answer. Mina Kimes, how about you?
Yeah, I think Coach Sanders deserves a ton of credit for what he's done in Colorado this season. However, I suspect the sturdiness of that kickstand might depend on a couple of things, one of which is whether that Cowboys job is actually available, and also whether they find a quarterback to replace his son, maybe Julian Lewis.
Buy or sell 3 NHL news of the day and of the season. Bruins firing Jim Montgomery. A scuffling start for Boston, 8-9-3. Previous 2 years, Boston had the best regular season record ever. And then last year, Montgomery set the record for most wins in first 100 games of the franchise. That's NHL history. There were some moments this season where it appeared he had some static between himself and stars Marchand and Pasternak. Kevin, buy or sell Boston's move here, firing Montgomery?
I'm going to buy it. The rest of the world changes socks like the NHL changes coaches. This is nothing new. Stop you when you've heard that before, that an NHL coach has been fired early in the season or even late in the season. It's what they do.
Frank Isola?
Yeah, I don't like it at all. And I think this all goes back to a couple of years ago when they had the best record in the league and they lost to Florida in that first round in that Game 7. They've had great regular seasons. It's almost like they were waiting for one time where you struggle in the regular season, get them out. I don't like the move.
Mina Kimes?
As opposed to waiting for them to fall short in the postseason again. Look, I think this is totally fair because this team is actually worse than their record. 31st in offense, 28th defense. Felt like they needed to shake something up to get back in contention.
David Dennis Jr.
I'm selling it. I'm not sure I get the move. They did lose in the playoffs. They lost in the playoffs to the team that made the Stanley Cup Finals each of those years. It was a better team that they lost to. Unless there's something going on with the personnel, we've seen the argument, as you mentioned. I just don't understand this from an actual coaching talent move.
Scoring is down for Boston this season. And they made a decision in the front office, I guess, to make a move at goalie.
Makes you go
get
like
rid of
this.
their tandem. That worked so well for them in the last 2 years. We're getting rid of a tandem right here. David Dennis Jr. Love your look today, though, David. And Frank Isola.
Ooh, I'm here too.
Yes. Mina Kimes, Kevin Blackistone. That's our show. That's next.
Tandem bike.
Around the Horn is presented by Bullet Frontier Whiskey. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Mina Kimes, Kevin Blackistone, good luck in Showdown. In the Nuggets win over the Grizzlies last night, NBA Cup. An absurd milestone. Russell Westbrook career triple-doubles. Anyone want to guess the number?
200.
Well done. And I think you read that right off the screen there. If you could kind of squint your eyes and get in there. Yes, they did the photo shoot. Here's your point, KB. Mina, can I put you down for impressed with 200 career triple-doubles?
Yeah, in part because it contributed to them actually winning the game with that final offensive rebound he got. To me, this stat, like it always has with Russell Westbrook, speaks to one thing, and that is his longevity and productiveness over the course of time, over the course of multiple teams. Doing it with 6 different franchises is legitimately impressive. He is still a contributor in the NBA, and this reflects that.
Kevin Blackistone?
You know, the two things I used to think were incredible in the NBA, one was Wilt Chamberlain's season when he averaged 50 and 25 and didn't win the MVP, and the other was Oscar Robertson when he averaged a triple-double and came close to doing it again. And now we see a guy who's done it 4 times. And I remember he did it with the Wizards when he was here, which he didn't have to do because they weren't very good. He tried his best to make them better, and he did so just by hustling and contributing every which way he can.
You guys share my love for Russell Westbrook. I think he's one of the most fascinating players in the league. And I know people are, everybody gets a triple-double. 200 career triple-doubles. We give respect for that. We move on. Showdown 2, Video Daily Double. Texas A&M head coach Mike Elko asked about how he's been focusing on Auburn this week and how hard it is with Texas looming after that. Take a listen.
When you're in the situation we're in, it's easy to focus on the task at hand. I think our focus is single-handedly on on Auburn right now.
Kevin! Please, Kevin, you have been in situations where you misspeak before. We all have. Talk to Mike Elko.
That is a mirror. That is a window into what he is thinking. These two teams have one of the greatest rivalries in college sports. They haven't played since 2011 because of the break. Of course he's looking forward to Texas.
So you're all right with it. Mina Kimes,
Yes,
how
I
about
am.
you?
I'm not, Laura. I'm sorry, Tony. NFL Live is tomorrow. My bad. I was looking ahead because this is a game that they should not sleep on. Look, they're better than Auburn, no doubt. However, when I think about them losing to Notre Dame, it was because of Jeremiah Love and that running game. And Auburn has a very good running back, Jarquez Hunter. Watch out for him.
Oh, that was analysis as well with the tech. And that gets you the point there, Mina Kimes. 30 seconds of FaceTime.
Yeah, y'all know I love talking about sports anywhere. I wanted to give a plug for my favorite app to do so right now, and that is Blue Sky. Check it out. You can follow me there, follow David Dennis Jr., other people on Around the Horn. I'm really enjoying the conversation, the engagement, the moderation tools. It's been a great experience for me. So, yeah, if you love sports, check it out.
Mina Kimes
I'm
in
there
blue
too.
right there. Stone, you're on it too?
Spot.
Isola?
Of course. He probably got paid.
He can probably get you.
Let's go.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Mina
Around the
follows
Horn.
me. I'll do it.